What's up, everybody? It's Darkstrider, the YouTube assassin, and with Assassin's Creed Odyssey right around the corner, a lot of people are both having high anxiety and high hopes at the same time for the game. But a lot of people are also questioning, what do you think is going to happen in the future to the series, being that they're going the RPG route. So a couple of you came out with a lot of different suggestions, some of which are absolutely incredible, and some of which are just bat guano crazy. So I'm just going to run down the list. I'm not giving any names. You know who you are. You've said it either in comments or even, just emailing me directly. And here's just a list of some of the things that you guys believe or think they may go with in the future as far as all of this goes. And for some of you may think some of these things are on point, and some of you are going to say, you know what, if they do that, I totally, absolutely will quit the series. So here we go. So now, we all know the basics of what's going on in Odyssey. You're going to be able to choose your character, either the male Alexios or the female Cassandra. Now, the problem with this is that from what is understood, all of Cassandra's story is actually going to be canon. Not some of the choices that you make, but some of the other things that go on. Like, you may make a selection that Cassandra actually had happen and it's canon. You may not. In order to find out what's really canon, you have to actually read the book, the novel. So now what's going on is that you're going to be able to play as either or, okay, but basically the modern day story is going to be what is actually canon. Everything that you do basically in the game is you make of it what you will. So now a couple of people are kind of upset. What's the point? Why would you ever pick Alexios then if Cassandra, it's her story? All right? In order to fix this, somebody actually came up with the idea, and I think that this may be kind of brilliant, actually. It's going to be hard, though. You pick a character, and the character's name is kind of unisex. Like, Reggie could be Reginald or Regina, okay? Nikki or Nick could be Nicholas, or it could be Nicole, all right? You get a character like that. The Animus doesn't actually sort the DNA. It knows that this is the person's name, and you choose between the two sexes, and then, at the end of the game, that's when you find out what's canon and what's not. It is kind of a brilliant idea. The only thing is that it's going to be kind of hard because you're trying to think of a name that's actually going to work, that's unisex with, just whatever time period you're in, There may not have been a Nikki or a Reggie or anything like that in the time period that you're playing as. So we kind of have to look deep into that. But other than that, it's kind of a cool idea, honestly. This next one is a little bit of a doozy, but if done right, it could actually be something kind of spectacular. One person actually suggested, why not have a Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter style game where you get to choose any of the assassins from the Assassin's Creed games. Now, the way that this person was thinking was that, you could play it off that, like Rebecca and Sean, or, some of the assassins are in the Animus and they're training, and in training, they're actually using the past assassins to train with, and instead of actually going on an adventure, they're actually doing it like Mortal Kombat style. Now, I don't know how I feel about a Mortal Kombat style thing. I could see something like that as like a multiplayer or something. Maybe you do like a multiplayer mode, and you play as whatever assassin from history or whatever, and you kind of battle each other or something. That might work. The other thing that this person had mentioned is that when you're playing the game, you would play as the assassin from that era. So if you went as let's say, Ezio from Assassin's Creed 2 versus an Ezio from Assassin's Creed Revelations, the Assassin's Creed Revelation Ezio and Assassin's Creed 2 Ezio would have two totally different skill sets, as you can see from the games themselves, which would be kind of realistic. The other thing would be that maybe the younger Ezio would be faster because he's younger, but maybe the older Ezio would be more sturdy because, he's older and he has a little bit of wisdom. So, that might be something to consider. Like I said, I don't think I want to see a Mortal Kombat style, choose your fighter kind of thing. But that might be something that works out as a multiplayer. So it is something to consider if they did it that way. But flat out Mortal Kombat style, that would just be insane. The fatalities might be kind of crazy though, if you could think of that. If you think of, some kind of like Ezio or Connor based fatality. I know all of you are just, your minds are exploding right now with different ideas. Let me know in the comments below. You got something. Let me know. Believe it or not, another popular thing, and it's not, anything that would do with the series itself. People are actually saying, like, what if they continued the Chronicle series? What if you had an Assassin's Creed Chronicle, maybe that dealt with some other theme? Maybe it dealt with, let's say, something like, Ezio's past, something that happened that we didn't see, and they just chronicle it, and it's not really relevant to the Assassin's Creed timeline or anything like that. It's just something that's like really cool that maybe we didn't see before. I could kind of see that. Being that it doesn't deal with like the direct timeline, and it could further tell tales of let's say like some of your favorite assassins without revisiting their games. You just actually play through as like the character. But I don't know if anybody would be into the whole like 2D thing like the Chronicle series is. Maybe give it more life. If it was, the way the entire series is, it's just a side story. It might even be a DLC. That would actually be kind of cool. But who knows? Who knows where they're going with this in the future? At one point, I actually posed the question, and a couple of you saw on it favorably. Could we have an Assassin's Creed that is completely done in the present day? In other words, nobody's hopping into the Animus. It's all, Layla Hassan, Bill Miles, Rebecca, Sean, any other assassins, or even, not even these assassins, maybe even a separate assassin sect who is defending somebody who's in the Animus. They're defending, maybe somebody is in the Animus, like Layla Hassan is in the Animus, and while she's there, whatever other assassins are there are guarding her and protecting her, making sure that there's no outside problems coming in from like Abstergo. Maybe Abstergo finds their base and decides to like attack it. Maybe it's kind of like Assassin's Creed 2, where Desmond was in a truck in the Animus on a truck. Let's say somebody's in the Animus and the truck is moving, and here comes Abstergo, and all of a sudden you and your assassins, you have to defend that assassin who's in the truck, in the Animus. Maybe they jump out of the truck. Maybe they like climb on the truck. Maybe they're, outside of the truck, they're just defending it, kind of GTA style. I mean, it all depends. I think an Assassin's Creed game done in the present day, without jumping in the Animus, would actually be kind of cool. Now, a lot of people, actually pointed out, oh, you mean like the comic books? Yeah, if we did something that was like the comic book, it would work. And that's basically what the comic books were. Comic books, if you don't read them, they actually deal with like Assassin's Creed lore and stories and everything. And unfortunately, we were kind of ripped off because Juno died, and she died in an Assassin's Creed comic. She didn't die in the series, which was kind of tragic. So, doing something like that might actually, benefit us if we're, just reliving a story or living a story that happens and it's all present day. That might push a lot of the narrative forward, a lot of the story forward as far as like what the assassins and the Templars are after. And, it might give us like a broader perspective. So, that's something that may work, honestly. And while we're on the subject of Juno, this is one of my personal favorites, honestly, and this is something that I'm sure a lot of you will agree with. Give us some closure with Juno. Give the loyal fan players who have played the game since the beginning closure with Juno. We actually noticed that at the height of the Desmond legacy, Desmond, was dealing with Juno, and Juno was pegged to be this big bad that we would eventually have to deal with. And if this is your first time hearing it, like I mentioned in the last little segment there, and I even did a video on it, Juno died in the comics. If you don't read that media, if you didn't know that, you didn't know anything about it at all. She died in the comics. They killed her off in the comic book series. Now, the comic book series is in the same universe as the video game series. Basically, the comic books tell stories that are, basically the present day story. And, they deal with assassins that we know and don't know. And in that series, we actually find out that Juno is killed off by Desmond's illegitimate child. So Desmond's child is like 9 or 10 at the time, and it's a whole plot. There's all this stuff. He ends up actually killing Juno. Juno was trying to get her body back to take form, and Desmond was has the blood of a sage, or the first civilization actually Desmond has, because that apparently is how people do eagle vision and stuff like that. It was explained in the comics and stuff like that. So Desmond's bloodline came from the first civilization. His son was supposed to be the next Oracle, kind of like Juno's husband, who became the Oracle in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, if you remember that John Smith or whatever his name was, the guy that the Templars were trying to get a hold of. And then when you're playing in the present day, as you're hacking all the systems and everything, he's the guy that actually explains to you that you got to hack whatever system and you got to do this for him and whatnot. He's the Oracle, and of course, he dies. So, Desmond's son is the next Oracle. And it's just absolutely insane that they did this in the comic book. In the comic book. Now, excuse me, one of the problems is that, Desmond's son and the Oracle were in the same space, same time. So maybe he's not that exact Oracle, but he was an Oracle. And he had, all kinds of powers that he was able to, destroy Juno. Now, that's in the comic. That's really not fair. If you don't read the comic, some people don't even know Assassin's Creed has a comic. Not many people are really interested in comics. You might know Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, all those guys and stuff like that, because that's kind of mainstream and whatnot. But, I mean, how many people actually knew that there was an Assassin's Creed comic book? And that Assassin's Creed, went and did this, where they actually killed off a major character that, like I said before, was pegged and played out to be the big bad of the Assassin's Creed series. Somebody that we were going to battle other than the Templars. That's kind of insulting. That's kind of, cheesy and unfair that we didn't get that closure. People that read the comic books, they got that closure. They got to see that stuff. And, while it is kind of cool and stuff like that, it's a cool concept, a cool idea, we didn't get that. And the closest that we got to that is that when Origins was first coming out, we actually got a lot of little teasers where we saw on the map something about Juno and Juno's ability to do something. Juno, it was like a Juno infestation or something like that. And that eventually evolved, and it actually became these, Trial of the Gods battles. So the Trial of the Gods are actually in the same spots that, these little Juno fragmentations were. So, to me, that's just kind of cheesy that we didn't get that closure, that people in the comics got that closure. Meanwhile, it all started in the video games. It didn't start in the comic books. So why don't we make the comic books and the video games two separate universes? you know, maybe following the same sort of path, but give us that closure. I want to fight Juno. I want to defeat Juno. And it's really not fair that we didn't get that. So I really do think that they really should bring Juno back, or even bring her back to life like they do with like everything in these games and stuff like that, and allow us to actually defeat her, allow us to fight her, because it's only fair. We're sitting here, if you didn't know this, you're sitting here and you're wondering what's going on, and it's just really annoying. And I did a video on this before about how the actual story of what happened, of Juno's death and everything. And more recently, another YouTuber, Fishy, he actually did an excellent video, and I strongly recommend you check that video out as well. And he actually used scenes from the comic and images from it to showcase what happened, and he gives you like a really quick but concise summary of why we don't have Juno, why we're not battling her, and how she died. So do me a favor and check that out. And just let me know in the comments below. You know that you're really angry. You wanted to see Juno. If you've been with this series since the beginning, you want to see Juno. This next one actually kind of makes like a little bit of sense. Other antagonists. We play the game and we're always chasing after the Templars and whatnot. What about some other antagonists? And it actually would have been fantastic to have dealt with Juno. Maybe we find like some other survivors of like the first Civ. Maybe some of the first Civ survivors actually, befriend the assassins. They want to help them out. They understand that they left behind some powerful toys, and people may die, Or maybe, like we have some other first Civ characters that we really need to battle and take care of, destroy, Other antagonists would just kind of like make the story a little more interesting, because think about it, like, you're not just fighting the Templars. You're not just looking, that the Templars exist. What about like an unseen foe or something like that? What about like a different kind of antagonist? Like that actually would be an interesting thing. It would be actually kind of cool if we had other people to battle, or other threats to battle, even if they weren't even, like from like an organization like the Templars, or, the first Civ, even though I think the first Civ would be an excellent antagonist. But, let's say they did something else. Let's say, like we actually battled other kinds of people and stuff like that. Maybe, like people who were affected by the Assassins and the Templars and their war, There's just so many possibilities that are going on with that. And, like it just might be something cool to see. Honestly. What are your thoughts on that? This next one, I'm not too sure about. I wouldn't actually want to see it in like the mainstream series. Then again, it might make it somewhat interesting, but it would be kind of weird. What if the Templars won? What if we're playing a game, and in the game the Templars actually found one of these pieces of Eden and actually did something? Maybe they nearly destroyed the world. Maybe like 3/4 of the earth is destroyed, gone, or people are enslaved, and the assassins are now on the defensive. Not that they haven't been on the defensive anyway, but maybe they're so defensive now that it's just like, they almost failed, or they have failed, and now it's just, the assassins trying to get out there and, like fix what's wrong. Like, what do you think of that? What do you think of, like, maybe they got a piece of Eden, one of the apples or something like that, and they used it, and they kind of conquered the world, or half the world, or a country, or something like that. What would you think of that? Like, could you play a game like that? Could you, get excited over a game like that? Would it bother you? Would you be able to play that? How would that even work? It would basically be that, like, we absolutely failed. For everything that the assassins have done, they failed. They came to a point where they just couldn't cut it. You know, maybe they had an assassin, protagonist who actually stunk and absolutely failed, and the Templars won, and now we have to correct those wrongs. Now we have to fix it. It might make for some interesting gameplay, if it's done in the present day. I don't see how it would work if it was the past. Maybe it would work if it was the past. There's a possibility that, maybe it was a time forgotten or something like that, and the Templars won, and when they won, an assassin had to fix it. And, that might be something, you could play through. That might be something interesting. But then again, it might be something that, if done wrong, it would stink. If done wrong, it just would not work. So, what do you think of that? That might be something interesting. And finally, and this is actually something that I've discussed before in a previous video, what if we actually had a Templar version of the events that go on in Assassin's Creed? Like, what if, and this may work for like yearly releases. Give us, 1 year a game, where we're actually playing as the assassin, let's say in Origins, okay? And then next year, or, like Origins came out last year, this year, why don't they give us, Origins from the perspective or view of the Templars, including, like a Templar version of what's happening in the modern day? Why not do something like that? That way we get more depth. The universe expands. We get to learn a little bit more about what's going on in the universe. How about, we find out how they found Layla Hassan? Instead of, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you give us, not Assassin's Creed Origins 2.0, but, something similar to it. And let's say, they discovered what happened, oh, we found Layla Hassan. Send our, like SWAT team out there and stuff like that. Make sure they have compound bows because we don't want to bring a lot of attention. Maybe the sand is too much out there. In a sandstorm, we'll never be able to actually shoot her. We'll have to use a bow. That would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see the perspective from, the Templar point of view while expanding the universe and, giving us information like that. I know in a previous video I said, well, would you guys be cool with having a game that's, half Templar, half Assassin? Like one half of the game you play as the Assassin, the next half you play as a Templar. Or vice versa. So, a couple of you thought that, like that might work. Some people were like, maybe that might not work. Not as good as like you think it might work. But what if we had, and then there was also, what if the entire game we played as a Templar rather than the Assassin? And a couple of you were okay with that. A couple of you were, nah, that's not going to work. So, what if we have yearly releases? That way, they really do a good job like they did with Assassin's Creed Origins. They don't, mess up. Technically, they're taking 2 years to actually complete the game. And then, the other team completes the Templar game. So it could be interesting. It may work out. It may be something to consider. It may, just to surprise us all, it may just be something outstanding. We may be pleasantly surprised because out of nowhere, okay, here we are with this game, and, next year, here's a game with the Templars. And, even though technically the Templars lose, we still see their mindset. We still see what's going through their minds. What happened? Why are they doing this? Why are they trying to do this? What is their next step? We could see some foreshadowing that, like, the Assassins don't know. We could see things, in the minds of the Templars, and it may blow us away. So, what could they actually do? What would make more sense? What, Should they go about that? Should they make like a yearly releases but have it alternate Templar, Assassin, Templar? What are your thoughts? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So there you go. There's about 10 things that, you know, people just like you, commenters, subscribers, you know, people that just watch my channel and you know, write to me on my email, just letting me know what they think of the future of Assassin's Creed. What did you think of this? Did you think that any of this made sense? Do you want to see any of this actually happen? Would you, you know, consider something else? Do you have a suggestion that you would like to see happen in the Assassin's Creed series in their future? Or is there something that you fear? Is there something that you're worried is going to happen and, you know, you're just panicked about it? Like maybe that Mortal Kombat Assassin's Creed crossover kind of thing. Like, I don't know how you feel about that. That may be like absolutely insane, but let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's something you fear, or if there's something that you're hopeful for, or if there's, you know, even something different that like maybe you have an idea and you want to share it with us. You know, just so that you don't get hate mail or anything like that. I won't share your name with anybody just in case it's like really outlandish and out there. But let me know in the comments below. Or, like I say, just send me a email. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And, you know, just like I said, comment below. Let me know what you think. As always, thank you for watching.